start by talking about your impressions on Marcus and then what he did last Saturday.
You know, the biggest thing he did is he broke a lot of tackles. He did some good things in the run game, caught the ball well, you know, on the 16-yard gainer. He managed the run game well. You know, it wasn't always big gainers. It was a lot of 5, 6, 7-yard runs. You know, and as the game went on, he continued to break tackles. So he's really coming along well. You know, but the biggest thing now is, you know, it's going to get harder and harder. You know, so now he's been doing a good job of just preparing for the next game.
You've been in the SEC. As you watched the tape, as you went and reviewed the tape, were you like, wow, even for a freshman, this is pretty impressive?
Yeah, it's very impressive. You know, his pad leverage, his leg drive, his ability to manage everything in the pass game. You know, you got some freshmen that come in that can run the ball, you know, but the most impressive thing is in the pass game, pass protection, all those different things that you have to do as a running back, you know, to be able to manage that. It's pretty good.
How did your discussion go, I don't know, with maybe Kenny or Jarvis or Brian regarding a freshman like that getting 37 carries?
You know, we talk about when a guy kind of starts to get the hot hand, whoever it may be, you know, you got to let him finish the game. You know, that's how it goes. And we talked about doing some things as far as substitution, you know, and different series guys would get. But when a guy gets in the hot hand, you're going to let him finish the game. You know, he deserves to finish the game. So he came in and did a good job. So, you know, the biggest thing, I was just worried about him, you know, getting tired as the game went on. So we watched him. You know, Kenny got in there and got some plays. Brian got in there and got some plays. So, you know, it was good. But we hope to get them more plays as the season goes on.
Talk about how is Jarvis doing? He seemed to be having a good fall camp and injured that shoulder. Has he been able to get back and compete with Kenny and Marcus right now?
Yes, you know, and he's competing hard. You know, and, you know, nobody feels for him more than I do, you know, because it's a frustrating situation, you know. But the best thing to do is to go out and compete every single day, you know, and once your opportunity comes along, you take hold of it, you know, and, you know, that's something that he's starting to understand, and we've talked about it. You know, he just has to continue to work every day, and every rep that you get, you know, it's important that you do 100% of it, and he's doing it. So, you know, that's the most important thing. We just got it's real competitive at our position.
You think everybody's spirits are still 100%? Like, I mean, it's tough to be as highly rated as he was and to have to sit out or basically to only get 2 carries in the first 2 games. You think he's still giving it his all and still fully involved in the team and everything?
Yeah, I believe so. You know, and I think for him, for himself, you know, I think it's very important that he do that. And I see it on the field, and he does that. You know, and that's the thing about it. He has fighting. You know, just to continue to go out there and work hard and move up. You know, and that's kind of what he's been doing in practice, and I always watch him every day.
You and your guys maybe see a big difference. Talk about the offensive line and what you've seen as far as improvement in the first 2 weeks.
All those guys did a great job. You know, Garrett Chisholm, T.J. Johnson, you know, Kyle and Hutch, and all those guys, they did a great job up front. You know, you didn't have defensive linemen penetrating through into the backfield, you know, and that's great. You know, I could tell you as a back a long time ago that it's hard when you got defensive linemen falling through. But they push those guys off the line, and that gives you a chance as a running back to get ahead of steam, you know, and get to the second level.
I guess talk about that from your very first spring practice to what you saw Saturday. How much more physical have they become since you arrived?
A lot more physical, you know, a lot stronger, you know, and there's a lot of different, you know, components to go into that. You know, Coach Fitzgerald's done a great job with those guys in the weight room, you know, offensive line-wise, Coach Elliott, you know, Coach Wolf, you know, all those guys work them hard, you know. And now they're starting to develop a certain mentality when we go out here to practice, that this is how we're going to go about doing things, you know, in the inside drill and all those things, the whole progression getting, you know, to the final part of practice. So, you know, guys are doing things the way we want to do them. And that's the thing. You just need to stay consistent and just work hard every day. But offensive line doing a great job.